Today I have 3 primitive DIYs for you to help show your patriotic pride. Today's patriotic playlist is hosted by Amanda with 6 kids and a glue gun and Brenda from Rustic and Lace DIY. You'll find all their information and the information for the playlist in the description box below. For this first project, I'll be using one of these wood plaques from Dollar Tree and one of these stencils from Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the twine from the top and set it aside. Now I have mixed together red, white, and blue mixed with a little bit of water because I want to make this sign into something that looks like a flag, but I don't want it to be painted. I want it to be more stained. Now that I have those colors mixed together, I'm using some painter's tape to tape off where I want the blue in the top left corner. So I'm just going to use a sponge, and I'm just going to sponge that on those top 2 areas. I did go back with a paper towel and just spritzed it with a little bit of water and then kind of wiped away any excess that was on that area. I let that dry a few minutes and then I moved that tape over so that I could start on my stripes. So of course the first one and the third one will be red, and then the second one and the fourth one will be white. The white paint was a little bit too watery, so I did go back over it a couple of times. Once this had dried, I went ahead and pulled away that tape and I added a white starfish that I had removed off of another Dollar Tree sign. So I'm just hot gluing that on into that top left corner. I'm going to be using some black chalk paint and I'm going to stencil the words "From Sea to Shining Sea," but I'm not going to be stenciling any of the nautical sea life. And I did tape over some of those areas so that I wouldn't get paint on places that I didn't want it. Once I had done the first 2 words, I did lift up that stencil and I moved it so that I could get my next 2 words where I wanted those. And then one last time I did pull up that stencil, wiped it off, and then put it back down where I wanted the last word. I also chose to go back with a small brush and fill in some of those stencil lines. Once the paint was completely dry, I decided to seal it with some of DIY's Big Top. And to finish off the wood part of this sign, I did go back with some watered down Waverly antique wax just to age it up a bit. There's just something about primitive looking patriotic decor that I really like. I had 2 of these red beads and I did add a little bit of antique wax to them as well. And then I strung them onto the twine. The beads are actually going to be in the front of the piece. Once I got both beads threaded on, I did make sure there was a knot in front of both beads. Now with the tails that are left over, I'm going to fray those. I'm just using this little picking tool and I'm picking apart all of those fibers so that they will be frayed on both sides. And that will complete this piece. I got 2 of these tags, I believe at Dollar Tree around Valentine's Day, and I'm going to be using one of those today. The back side, I'm going to cut off that ribbon, and then I'm going to paint this back side with a little bit of watered down truffle by Waverly. Next, I'm going to be giving it a coat of milk paint in Gustavian white, and I mixed just an equal part of water and powder, let that set aside for several minutes so that it could thicken up, and then I'll put one coat on, let it dry, and then I'll go back over it with a second coat, and I'm hoping for some good crackles. And I am just applying a messy coat on both layers because I do want this to be primitive. Now when I did the second coat, I did use this chip brush just to give it a little bit more of a wood look. I then came back with my heat gun to dry it, and those thicker places definitely started to kind of crackle. Using that same blue paint that I used in the first project, I'm mixing in a little bit of black because I want a little bit of a deeper navy color for these stars. So I picked out 2 sizes of stars, as you see here, and I'm going to give those that same blue stain. Next, I'm using this stamp from IOD's Mercantile, and I'm using this red stamp pad from Dollar Tree. I thought maybe this would be red enough. It turns out it's not, but you'll see what I do different in a few minutes. So I'm just stamping this on to, stamping the ink pad onto the stamp, and then I'm going to apply that to the tag. It's just much lighter than what I wanted it. So I went back and just added some Waverly chalk paint in crimson, and I just brushed that on the top of my stamp pad, and then I restamped it. The great thing about these clear stamps is you can see exactly where you need to go back and restamp. And this is much more what I was looking for. So now I'm going to take some Type Bond Quick and Thick, and I'm going to glue on my stars. I'm going to use some large stencils, or at least the largest stencils that I have, with numbers, and I'm going to stencil on 1776. The only other thing that I did to this tag was I added a twine hanger, and I hung it around a jar that I have in my house. And finally, for this project, I'm using some children's cylinder blocks, and I also have one piece cut off from a Dollar Tree plunger. I'm going to be drilling a hole into the top of each one of these, and of course this green one, I want it to start out at least similar to the same colors as the other blocks, so I'm giving it a coat of fusion paint. I'm going to be decoupaging on fabric onto each one of these, so I'm going to measure strips of fabric for each block. Some blocks will get 2 different colors of fabric, but once I have them all cut, I'm going to go back and decide which ones I want where, and I'm going to make sure that the top of the block is a similar color to whatever fabric will be at the top once I decoupage it on. Now it's time to get out that fabric Mod Podge, although any Mod Podge would actually work, but this one is made for fabric. And I'm just going to brush that along the cylinder, and then I'll just roll my fabric around it. Now for this next one, I am using 2 different fabrics. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my Mod Podge, and I'm going to apply the one that I want on the bottom first, and then I'll add more Mod Podge and apply the one on the top. Continued in the same manner with the other 2 cylinders. Once I got to looking at them, they looked a little bit too new for me, so I used some instant coffee to dirty them up a bit. Found that actually using a paintbrush was much easier. Now these fireworks need some kind of a fuse, so I'm using some jute twine for this. I'm going to tie a knot in it, and then I'm going to glue it down into the hole that I drilled. Now you could certainly leave these individually, but I wanted to tie them together collectively and display them that way. I tied them together using jute twine and a knot, and then I frayed those ends once again. Don't forget to check out the playlist below along with our host channels for some more patriotic inspiration. Hope you've enjoyed these primitive DIYs today, and if you did, I would appreciate a thumbs up and leave me a comment in the section below and let me know which one was your favorite. I'm going to leave you another video right here that I think you might like. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to share the chic. Bye now.